Hello, everybody. We are going to do an interactive video, and we're going to draw out the parts of the sarcomere. So, to begin with, what is the sarcomere? This is the functional unit of skeletal muscle. And this runs from Z line to Z line. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put in our Z line. So we're going to start with our Z line in red. Now I'm going to put in a Z line over here also. Well, actually, no, we'll hold off on that. Well, no, I take that back. I'm going to put in a Z line. Okay, so right here we have two functional units, okay? But we're just going to focus on the one. So here's a Z, and here's a Z, and here's a Z. Next, let's put in the next easiest part of this, okay? So the next easiest thing to put in is the M line, okay? And this is essentially going to bisect the sarcomere. Now, in future videos, we're going to talk about the various proteins that compose these different lines. So, for example, myomycin composes the M line. We'll talk about that in future videos. So let's put in our M line. So here's our M. It bisects the sarcomere. Okay? So M is here. M bisects. Now, a couple of things to remember. That should be bisects. When we're thinking about the sarcomere being the functional unit of skeletal muscle, we have to remember that contraction is a part of this. And contraction occurs because of two proteins called actin and myosin, and later we'll talk about troponin and tropomyosin and explain sliding filament theory and how actin and myosin bind together to contract skeletal muscle. So first we're going to start with our myosin. So myosin is a thick filament. And myosin, let's come up here. Let's make myosin green, okay? So myosin is going to branch off of our M line. Trying to make these as straight as I possibly can. Okay, so myosin, thick filament. Sarcomere, Z to Z, M bisects. Myosin is a thick filament, okay? Okay, now we also have a thin filament. And this is actin, okay? And actin is going to come from our Z line, okay? So the thing about actin and myosin is that these guys overlap. And this again becomes important when we talk about sliding filament theory. So these guys overlap and they interdigitate themselves among one another. Okay? So let me hurry this up here, drawing in my lovely little actin filaments attaching to the Z line. Now, as I was saying, in future videos, we'll talk about the other proteins involved here. Okay, our tiny little yellow actin. All right, once again, sarcomere, Z to Z, M line bisects, myosin thick filament, actin is a thin filament. Okay, what's next? Now, we were just talking about these overlapping segments of actin and myosin, correct? Now, this region where the actin and myosin overlap is called the A band. Overlapping actin and myosin, okay? Now let's draw the A band so we know where this is at. And let's draw the A band in, let's make it a light blue color, okay? So you can see here at the end of the myosin, okay, the A band kind of starts at the end of this myosin, but it still has that overlapping region of actin and myosin filaments. Okay? So this is our A band. Now, one thing to remember when we talk about A band, when we talk about sliding filament theory, we're going to see that A always stays the same. Okay? So that's our A band. It has the overlapping filaments of actin and myosin. Sarcomere Z to Z, M line bisects, actin attaches to the Z, myosin is attaching to the M. The A band is where we have overlapping filaments of actin and myosin. Now, within the A band is another little zone called the H zone. And the H zone is only going to be myosin plus M line. Let me make this a little smaller so we can see, okay? Now we're going to make the H zone purple. The H zone essentially starts at the end of the actin filament because it's only going to contain, I know that's not a straight line, but let's pretend it is. The H zone is only going to contain the myosin filaments and the M line, okay? So this is our H zone. Okay? So this is your H zone right in here. Let's recap again. Sarcomere, functional unit, Z to Z. It contains thin filaments of actin. The M line bisects and contains thick filaments of myosin. The A band, which we can see in blue here, encompasses, as you can see, watching my little purple cursor move down, overlapping filaments of actin and myosin. The H zone only contains the myosin thick filaments and the M line that bisects it. Okay, so we're doing perfect so far. We have one more thing to add. We're going to add the I band. Now, the I band is going to, think of it as straddling part of the sarcomere. So it's going to start in one part of the sarcomere and loop or arc, that's a better word. It's going to start in one part of the sarcomere and arc over to the other. The I band is going to start at the end of the myosin filament, and it's going to span into the next sarcomere to the end of the next myosin filament. Now, this means it's going to contain the Z line plus actin. It looks like I'm running out of time on my video, so I'm going to put in the I in this nice pink color. So again, it's going to come here at the end of the myosin, and it's going to come here